They had an FM signal, and it was a piece of garbage radio station. And I took the station from worst to first. We went from the sewer to number fucking one, and the station was just out of nowhere, was now the number one radio station. And I did mornings, and Barry Richards did afternoons.
There's the voice of Terry Motormouth Young. Check out his website, WTYT.fun. That's WTYT.fun. And he's got a huge variety of music on there, and he's on there twice a day. So check it out, WTYT.fun. Now, last time we teased you with a new innovation that helped decide what music gets played on different radio stations, and we're going to pick up that conversation right now.
Talking about power currents, yeah, we would figure out, and we started doing call-out research on the phones, and we started saying, is there any group or artist you'd like to hear more of on the radio? And then we'd play snippets of songs, which is like a music test that they run now in a theater auditorium, and they would tell us if they wanted to hear it more or less. And we compile that every week, and we decide what our hits were. And it would surprise us that a song, by Chicago, If You Leave Me Now, would hang on for as long as it did, and we'd keep playing it because of that. And then a song out of nowhere, like Another One Bites the Dust, would show up, and we would know to play that. I'm talking about in other years. Mm-hmm. But as a music director, I was able to attribute to the radio station's success, and I was there from 1976 to 1980, and I left in 1980 to go to B97 FM in New Orleans. But the time I was at WTIX, we had a great staff, and Bob Mitchell was the program director, and he did the morning show. And Bob Walker was the midday guy. He was known as the oldie king, and he started playing oldies at noon every day, and his ratings went through the roof. I did afternoons, and Marty with the party did the 7 to midnight. But I was there for 5 years, and we were number one. And when I left, the ratings came out, and we were the number one station, 12 plus, in New Orleans, and that was the last time they were ever in that category. And then I went to B97 FM after that, and went to work for Dan Valley, still in New Orleans.
Yeah, from Valley Richards Donovan Consulting?
That's the one, him, yeah.
Oh, yeah. He actually was the consultant for one of the radio stations I worked for many years ago. Small world.
Well, when I went to work with him, he was PD. Burkhard Abrams was the consultancy that B97 employed, and he was infatuated with them. He would tell me, I want to be like they are one day, and that's where he ended up. And that was his dream. He never wanted to get on the air. I used to kid him. I go, come on, Dan, go on the air today. Let's see what you got. But he would never go on and crack the mic, even though he had. But yeah, he was an off-the-air PD, and he was the first one of those that I had worked with.
Wow. When you were in New Orleans, both at the Mighty 690 as well as B97, how often did you get to introduce bands in concert on stage?
Well, I don't think I really introduced anybody. Bob Walker, Olivia Newton-John came to town, and something happened with her. Supposedly, whoever was supposed to be watching her, and they asked Bob Walker, our midday guy, to go over to the swimming pool and sit outside the pool until her agent comes back. And Bob Walker had to babysit Olivia Newton-John back in 1978, dude. And I just, instead of introducing her on stage, he was sitting by the pool watching her swim, waiting for her talent agent to come back. And I guess he'd gone for lunch or whatever, but that was one thing that happened when I was there. And I guess I introduced the band The Cold. That was the big local band that was there in town, and I got them on the air at B97. But I had to prove to Dan Valley how popular they were. So I took him out there to their live concert on a Friday night, and I introduced them on stage. But there were like 800 kids there waiting to hear them. And so we added their record after that, back in 1980.
Wow. The Cult?
It was a group called The Cold.
The Cold.
A new New Orleans local band, yeah.
Wow, I got to check them out and see, because I've never heard of them before. Mardi Gras, they take the week off in New Orleans when that happens. Any special type of Mardi Gras events that those radio stations had in the community, or any remote broadcast from different Mardi Gras events?
We'd get a wireless mic and get on a float and ride through the parade, and they just check in with us in between records. And with once the wireless mic thing, we were able to not have to plug anything in. We could jump right in and onto the parade, and so we could be a part of Endymion or any one of those crews and broadcast live. So, well, let's go check in with Cajun Ken. He's at the crew of Endymion right now, and then we'd put the pot up on the board, and he'd come right in, and it was a really good time for local radio back at that time.
Was that Cajun Ken Cooper by chance?
Yeah, that was him. Great dude.
Yeah, a friend of mine worked with Ken at KYMS in Orange County back about 30 years ago. He was the program director of that Christian hot AC format that went away probably about a couple months after Ken stepped down as PD. But
yeah, he's retired now. I think he owns an eyeglass store or an eyeglass store franchise, and that's what he put his money back into. But when I came to work at WTMP here in Tampa to do mornings, I went out to lunch with him, and I hadn't seen him in a while. But he's living in West Tampa, and got a wife and kid. But he was in the eyeglass business the last time I talked to him.
Wow! And then also in New Orleans, you were at WAIL 105. Tell us about that job,
dude. It was a diamond in the rough. They had an FM signal, and it was a piece of garbage radio station. I had to put a quarter on the tone arm, the turntable tone arm, to keep a certain record from spinning. From skipping. Don't Stop Till You Get Enough by Michael Jackson. And if you played it on turntable 1, without the quarter on the tone arm, it would hang up and skip on the song. And so I would put a quarter there on the tone arm, and every morning when I would come in to work, the quarter would be gone. The janitor would come in and steal it. And he'd see a quarter laying down there and take it. But it was a piece of shit radio station, but Dan Valley fired me, and I needed a job, and I had talked to Barry Richards, who was the program director, and what a genius guy he is. He's plugged into the street and knows what's going on, and so he took over the radio station, and so I went to see him, and I said, dude, you need a morning show. I said, I'll come over there and do your morning show. This is 1980. And I said to him, 1981, okay. And I said, I'll come over there and do your morning show, but I got to have $600 a week. And he goes, there's no way the owner's going to pay $600 a week. He goes, but you need to cut me a tape and let me know what you're going to sound like, because I don't want you screaming and yelling like you're doing on the night show on my morning show. So he offered me a job to do his morning show for $600 a week if I cut him an audition tape of some bits or what it would sound like if I did mornings. And so I knew, he was a good dude. But when Dan Valley fired me, he's the first guy I called. And I said, dude, that job, me doing mornings, I said, let's talk. And so Dan Valley fired me that morning, the day after Mardi Gras. And I met with Barry Richards that day, and he had me go over and sit with the owner. And I didn't get no $600 a week, but I got hired to do mornings, and I was on the air the following Monday. And I took the station from worst to first. And I'm not kidding. We went from the sewer to number fucking 1. And the station was just out of nowhere, was now the number 1 radio station. And I did mornings, and Barry Richards did afternoons. And so I worked there for 6 months. And in the 6 months I worked there, we went from number 23 to number 1. And there's only 24 stations in the market. So we went to the number 1 position. So when that happened, I got a call from Mike Joseph at WCAU in Philadelphia. And the secretary at WAIL 105, she goes, "Terry, there's a man on the phone. He wants to talk to you." And I said, "All right, I'm in production." So she buzzed him in there, and I said, "Hello." And he goes, WAIL 105 was a black station. It played all black music. And I was the morning DJ. I'm white. And not that we played all black music.
Mm-hmm.
We played another one, Bites the Dust. And but our music was, we were the first urban radio station. And so Mike Joseph calls me, and he says, I pick the phone, I go, he goes, "Is this Terry Young?" I go, "Yes." He says, "What's a hot flash DJ like you working on an all black station?" And I said, "I'm kicking ass." And I hung up the phone, and I went back to work producing what I was doing in the production studio. And the secretary comes back down the hall, and she goes, "Terry, that man be calling back, and he be wanting to apologize to you now." And I go, "Well, apologize to me? I'm the one who hung up on him." So I picked the phone up, and I said, he says, "Oh, I hope I haven't offended you. What I would like to hear is a recording of your show. And we have a station here in Philadelphia that we're trying to staff." So he wanted to hear my act. And to be honest, working at WAIL 105, I was recording my show every day because I wanted to get out of there, and I wanted to move to a major market bad. And New Orleans was a major market, but WAIL 105 wasn't. And for us being number 1, the studio wasn't any different. And I was making it sound as good as I could, but I still had to put the quarter on the arm to play Michael Jackson. So I was taping my show every day, so I said, "Well, I recorded my show today on cassette. Would you like that? It's unscoped." And he said, "Yes." So he gave me a FedEx number to send it to him so he could have it the next day paid for. And so I wrote all that down and sent him my cassette show of my show that morning. And I sent it, and as soon as he got it, he called me back, and he said it was breathtaking, that my radio show was breathtaking, and that he wanted to fly me to Philadelphia and have me meet with the manager. And the manager came on the phone, and he talked to me, and he wanted me to come in and sit down and talk with him. So that's what happened, and I flew there, and I talked with him, and then they hired me to be the 7 to midnight jock at the Hot Hits format in Philly. And
wow.
And then I went there, and I stayed there almost 7 years. And it was a good gig. And I stayed there till they switched to the oldies format. And then, what do? You keep moving on, and then here we are now.
Yeah, it's interesting. Since WAIL went from worst to first in such a short time, besides the programming moves that were made there, what kind of marketing was done to get the community aware of that radio station?
Oh, dude. The first thing that we did was call in and win every hour. They had never had that before. And so we got a piece of garbage T-shirts, and you could call in and win an album. Name it and claim it. We started doing that, but then we did "Don't Say Hello When Your Phone Rings." Answer your phone. I listened to WAIL 105 WAIL-FM and win $1,000. And that was our big contest. Don't say hello when you answer your phone. Say, "I listen to WAIL 105 WFIL WAIL-FM and $1,000 is yours." And then we would do the call on the air, and we would, call them up. Back then, you could do it And then when they answered, you could say, or you can say it now, you're on the air with me. Had you answered your phone by saying, I listen to WAIL 105 FM WAIL, you would have won $1,000. However, there is a chance we'll put your phone number back into the box and then be calling you back. So keep listening to WAIL 105. And we did that contest. And that and, call in and win every hour made us go from worst to first. And the black people in the community had never had call in and win, nor had they had answer your phone and win $1,000 ever. So it took it by storm. And we had 3 winners in the 6 months when I was there.
It's interesting you mentioned that you wouldn't just play black artists, because I think about Soul Train. After David Bowie died, I was looking at some videos of his, and one of the videos was his guest appearance as a guest artist on Soul Train. And there he was, singing his hit Golden Years, which he wrote with Elvis Presley in mind. He wrote the song with the idea of Elvis performing it, but Elvis's manager, Colonel Tom Parker, said no, and so Bowie, doing his best Elvis impression, recorded the song himself. It's kind of
cool,
like,
man.
Golden years, golden years.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and then Soul Train also had like El Chicano, which was a Latin group. They, I think, may have had Chicago on there. I think they also had Duran Duran one episode in the 1980s, because the music, it kind of it transcended. It wasn't so segregated back then like the formats are now.
Well, the thing about WAIL 105 is I wasn't in the music director position, but when I would go in public or do a remote broadcast from the radio station, and I would be around the listeners, I would ask the females, what rock songs do you like? Because I knew they liked the black songs we were playing. And it turned out they liked Start Me Up by the Rolling Stones. And so we played it. But now it was worse the first, and it was a fun situation. And then after I left and went to New Orleans, WAIL hung on for, I guess, another 4 or 5 years with that format.
We're talking with Terry the Motormouth Young. I'm Josh Jacobs, and if you want to come onto the show, if you're a radio personality, either on the air or behind the scenes, just email me, joshdj57@gmail.com. That's joshdj57@gmail.com. And next time our conversation concludes with Terry, where he talks about his time at WCAU in Philadelphia, as well as a close friend of his that I had the opportunity to work with myself. We'll find out who that is next time